Security Dossier, securing the perimeter. Hello and welcome to your channel of choice. Hello and welcome to this edition of Security Dossier on Television Nigerian, the program that focuses on security issues in and around the country and the efforts of security agencies in the protection of lives and properties of citizens, as well as in the defense of the territorial integrity of the nation. On the program today, we shall be looking at the situation in Mali, its implication on the war against insurgency in Nigeria, plus the journey so far on the war against insurgency in Nigeria. How has the Nigerian military been able to justify their mandate? These and many more we will be looking at on the program today. My name is Lawrence Audu. The program returns after this short break. Please stay with us.
For almost a decade, the Nigerian army have given their all to ensure that our dear country is not overrun by Boko Haram insurgents. Some have in the process paid the ultimate price, while many will forever live with indelible scars occasioned by their determination to protect the country, no matter the hurdle. Despite these, they have remained resolute and undaunted, and today, all territories the insurgents once took control of have been recaptured and normalcy restored. And now, for the first time in a long time, the end of Boko Haram is foreseeable. Therefore, the wisest thing for the remaining insurgents to do is to surrender today or face total destruction from the army. Remember, the Nigerian army will stop at nothing to ensure that total peace is restored in all parts of the country. So, be wise and embrace peace today or get ready to be ruthlessly dealt with.
Since the fall of Muammar Gaddafi, a new swath of instability that comprises fractured compromise or failed states has emerged in the Sahelian and the Lake Chad Basin region, giving ample opportunities to militant entrepreneurial groups that have organized and are inhibiting the recreation of more stable states and societies. Only last week, some renegade soldiers in Mali, in the Malian army, seized power from the constitutionally elected President Boubacar Keïta, taking him hostage alongside his Prime Minister Boubou Cissé. Although the ECOWAS mediation delegation led by Nigeria's former President Goodluck Jonathan failed to reach any agreement with the junta, what precedence does this leave for the sub-region and the entire Sahel that has been battling influx of Islamists over the years? In the studio today, I have with me a renowned public affairs analyst and President Coalition for Nigeria Movement, Patriot Sabo Odi. Welcome to Security Dossier.
Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, viewers.
It's a pleasure to have you again.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And all the way from Nairobi, Kenya, is an international TV journalist who is joining us via Zoom, Mr. Daniel Funard. Daniel Funard, welcome to Security Dossier.
Great to be here, Lawrence.
Okay, I'm going to start with you quickly. You have been in touch with the situation in Mali. You've covered Africa extensively for a very long time, and then you understand conflict situations in many regions, especially in the Horn of Africa and in West Africa. What are the remote causes of the military takeover in Mali?
Well, Lawrence, I would compare what's happened there with other so-called people power revolutions that I've covered in the Philippines and Indonesia. I'm actually surprised that this doesn't happen more often in Africa. I think you had a similar situation in Sudan recently, where people took to the streets to complain about corruption, to complain about bad governance. There was a leader that had been in power too long, who had lost touch with the people, whose elections might be questioned in terms of their fairness, and people demanded that he be removed or that he resign. The military facilitated this, and at this point, I think we have to take them at their face value. That what they did is they presented the situation to the leader. Perhaps he had no choice, but he voluntarily resigned. Now, the big question is, how soon do we go back to civilian rule? And I think you've seen ECOWAS try to put pressure on the situation to get a result that would result in democracy. We've seen them meet actively with the military coup leaders to talk to them about what they would like to see in terms of the situation, being controlled and elections being held. And I think that right now, the right thing for the international community to do, for the neighbors to do, is what is being done right now, is to engage the people that are in charge, to encourage them to move in the right direction, a democratic direction, to continue to support the country so that other actors, particularly those in the north that have caused not just trouble, but widespread death in the north of the country, can't claim more territory or commit more atrocities. But I think that things are proceeding as they should at this point, and I don't have great criticism for anybody involved other than perhaps the president in leading his country into this situation in the first place.
Okay, now what are the implications of this crisis in Mali on the West African and the Sahel region? What are the implications? Already, so many influx of after the fall of Gaddafi are causing too many troubles already in West Africa, especially in Nigeria. With this situation, what could be the implication possibly?
I think with Keita out of the way, the country can concentrate on what's important. I think that people in the capital are probably more concerned about jobs and food and reversing this corruption so that they can improve their lives. But I certainly think that when you have a situation like you had, where the security forces are preoccupied by demonstrations, etc., when you have a corrupt regime, the changing of the leadership should lead to a better prosecution of the fight against anarchy in the north, the fight against extremists in the north, and the fight against anybody that's taking advantage of it. Now, obviously, you've had French forces that have been operating there. I have to think that a strong civilian government is going to be able to engage the French government to government to decide how much help they need or how much involvement they want from the former colonial power. But again, I see this as a step in the right direction, and I would think that again, as we've seen ECOWAS be involved in trying to push the military toward civilian control, I think they can also take a role in engaging the new government and making sure that they're giving the new government as much support and receiving as much support from this government as they can to help deal with the unrest in the north.
Okay, Daniel, you saw that former president of Nigeria, His Excellency Goodluck Jonathan, was in Bamako over the weekend, and apparently there's been no deal so far with the junta. There's been a stalemate with the, discussing with the junta over there. Where do we go from here? Is there going to be a consideration of a military exercise in Mali, or there's going to be sanctions, to be accompanied by this?
Well, they've already frozen money going in and out of Mali. They've suspended Mali's participation in any decision-making that ECOWAS makes. I mean, to some extent, I think it's early days or early hours in this situation to be worrying too much that things should have gotten to a certain point. I think it's, I think it's clear right now that the neighbors of Mali are taking this situation seriously, that they are pushing for democracy, that they are trying to seek goodwill from the military leaders. But again, if this was a result of a military leader, a general or a lower ranked officer feeling adventurous and wanting to overthrow the government for their personal ambition, then I would be worried that things need to get solved sooner rather than later. But I think this was initiated by a call from the people of Mali, who have been demonstrating in the streets for quite some time. And I think that really, as long as ECOWAS
We have lost Daniel for the moment, but my guest, Mr. Sabo Ode, is still in the studio. While we try to reconnect with Dan, what is your take on the situation in Mali?
For me, I like to look at it from the perspective of a Nigerian and Nigeria. And it is my opinion that we need to worry. The issues in Libya, as we know, are not resolved yet. When you talk about any dislocation in management of governments across Africa, you begin to think about Libya, the recent one in Mali. That is not too good for us. Having the kind of problems that we have right now in our hands, Boko Haram, insurgency. This gives allowances for flow of arms, small arms, and whatnot. And for Nigeria, this is not the time to be joking about it. We need to be absolute. We need to be absolute about it. We need to take firm decisions because whatever happens across the West Coast or across the Sahel affects Nigeria. Of course, we are considered the big brothers of this area, and whatever happens in Mali, I am worried about the issues in Mali right now because the overflow definitely will affect Nigeria.
Now, there is a stalemate in discussion between the ECOWAS mediation team led by Goodluck Jonathan and the military junta in Bamako.
Yes, please.
What are the implications?
The implications are very simple. These boys, the young lads that took over the government, want to at least participate and take control of the country for a while. Latest information getting to me that they are asking for 3 years.
Yes.
And for me, first of all, I'm not an apostle of military dictatorship or military government of any kind. So I disagree with that. And we are left to see what will become of that. We are aware that there are a lot of sanctions placed on Mali and the junta already. So let's see how we can squeeze them to come up with the best agreements that is needed to return Mali to its normal self.
Okay, now that you oppose a military government in Mali,
yeah.
We also know that Boubacar Keïta was like a stooge for the French in that region, and we already know how much the French has cost us, even here in Nigeria, in the pursuit of the war against insurgency. Many arms were smuggled through, and then looking at it, most of the Francophone countries are destabilized at the moment.
Yes, for now, we also believe that some of the fundings to the insurgents come through the back doors of France. Well, we do know that, but speaking realistically to myself and what I do know about these issues, does the military junta solve these problems, even if it is France? I want to lay the blames on the apparatuses of government of this country. If France is working negatively against us, there are avenues and channels where we can nip this in the bud. We can stop it. I think we are not doing enough.
Okay. So we have been talking on the issue in Mali and how it affects Nigeria's security and the war against insurgency with Comrade Patriot Sabo Ode, and then we had Daniel Funad, who joined us from Nairobi. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, the program will continue. Please stay with us.
The question of leadership is a factor in this regard to the success of the fight against the Boko Haram terrorists. And then you look at also the factor of morale.
this message. For almost a decade, the Nigerian army have given their all to ensure that our dear country is not overrun by Boko Haram insurgents. Some have in the process paid the ultimate price, while many will forever live with indelible scars occasioned by their determination to protect the country, no matter the hurdle. Despite these, they have remained resolute and undaunted, and today, all territories the insurgents once took control of have been recaptured and normalcy restored.
Standing by. The Boko Haram insurgency, which began more than a decade ago, has been recognized as the most threatening and complex security issue in Nigeria since independence. In response, the federal government of Nigeria has committed itself to different counter-terrorism measures, which are largely dominated by hard politics and military mobilization, spending heavily on defense to upgrade military hardware and train personnel in counter-terrorism role. Nigeria has also boosted its strategic importance on the global war on terror. Although so much has been done since Muhammadu Buhari administration came on board. But with Nigerians, what Nigerians are yearning is a quick end to insurgency and other security issues around the country. You're welcome back to Security Dossier. My guest is still here in the studio, Patriot Sabo Ode.
Thank you, sir.
And then we still have online from Nairobi, Kenya, Daniel Funar. Dan, are you still here? Hello, Dan. Hello, Dan.
Hi.
Okay. I was taking you on something. I wanted you to finish your point before we went on that break. Okay. Now, you were trying to make a point, and I was asking you, what are the lessons that the Malian military ought to learn from the Nigerian military, in terms of the defense of the constitution of a country?
Well, again, I think that it appears that this coup was a result of the military responding to the will of the people that had taken to the streets to ask that Keita leave office. It doesn't appear that it was the adventurism or grab for power by one or more officers. So again, taking it at face value, it appears that the military felt that their patriotic duty was to follow the will of the people, and that 3 more years of Keita's stewardship of the country would be disastrous. So that they've made a decision to get him out of power. Now, what should they do as a military, in stewarding the country forward in the meantime, is they should, protect the institutions that are working for the people. They should move the country or put together a plan to move the country back to democratic and civilian rule. They should engage ECOWAS and Mali's neighbors to get as much help and guidance as they can to make things happen. So again, I don't think it's time to panic. I think it's time to watch the players in the region engage the military and push them in the right direction to restoring democracy in Mali.
Okay, about Nigeria. Before I let you go, I just want to ask you a question. Do you think it was too hasty for the Nigerian government or the Nigerian military to have declared victory over Boko Haram, since we still have 1 or 2 pockets of resistance and attacks in some places?
Well, I think what the Nigerian military has done is they've said that the insurgency, the organized ability to claim and control territory has ended. I think that what their view is, and I think it's a fair assessment, is that what is left is terrorism, is pockets of areas where there is the ability for the Boko Haram to operate in order to cause misery, in order to show that they have some kind of teeth left. but I do think that as an insurgency, they're done. Their ability to control land, their ability to somehow create a state within the borders of Nigeria or with Nigeria's neighbors as well is gone. And I think that there is a cleaning up that needs to happen. Again, I think that if you want to compare it to other places in Africa, Somalia is a mess. I mean, the Al-Shabaab controls wide areas of territory. They, are able to target Mogadishu, the capital, with relative ease. I think what you have in Nigeria is a military that controls most of the territory, and you have terrorists out there that are able to inflict pain in very specific areas. So the job isn't finished, but in terms of what they've claimed to accomplish, they've accomplished a lot.
So how do we end this? How do we finally end insurgency in Nigeria?
Well, I think that there are two things that need to happen. I think number one, you need to get there needs to be an international effort to get at the foreign sources of resources for these people. I think that these people I don't think that this is completely homegrown. It may be homegrown in terms of the personnel, but in terms of the material support they have to be able to have explosives, to be able to have money to travel around, vehicles to travel around in, that's coming from somewhere. So I think that needs to be interrupted in order to put the final touches on this. And the other thing that needs to happen is some economic development in the region. And this is something that if you look all around the world, I mean, you're not able to put the Islamists out of business in Iraq or Syria or any other place until you create opportunities, economic opportunities for young people. So their choice is to join the workforce, or their choice is to join the terrorists. So I think that what needs to happen is, I think that Nigeria needs to put money where its mouth is and go and help develop these areas in the Northeast. And only then will you see the eventual demise of terrorist operations, as people have other things to do that are more productive than blowing themselves up.
Daniel Funad, I must thank you so very much for coming to today.
It's always great to be on your show, and keep doing a great job. You guys are keeping us well informed there in Abuja.
Thank you so very much. So, sir, yeah. You heard him.
Yes, I agree with him totally. It's going to be very hard to think that you will completely, 100% eliminate these pockets of terrorism when there is the level of poverty is ongoing in the Northeast, the North Central, and elsewhere, frankly. I think the government, the military have done perfectly well. A few years back, the Boko Haram terrorists could strike in Damatru, they could strike in Abuja, they could strike in Kaduna and Kano with ease. That is no more. And that's an indication that the military have done a very good job so far. Asymmetrical war is very hard to contain. The intelligence gathering has to be upped a little bit. Coordinations amongst the arms of the military has to be 100% perfect. And when all these are packaged together and put together, I think that we are almost seeing the back of Boko Haram.
What about information flow on the side of the Nigerian military? Do you think they are actually coordinating information properly?
I think they're not doing all that is necessary yet. But then more can be done.
Okay.
And the government and the military are purchasing gadgets and equipments on almost a daily basis. And it is our hope that they can bring the best there is for intelligence gathering right now, because that is where they need to up a little bit. And Boko Haram will be a thing of the past.
So what about interagency collaboration? Back then you used to have...
There's a lot of secrecy in that.
Okay.
But our findings, based on my own coalition, we do know that period to the warnings and call-up that the president gave to them recently, there was that lacking a bit. But I think that they are doing more. We can, you notice that in the past 2 weeks, there have been a lot of strikes on the main areas where these Boko Haram people, terrorists operate. Recently, you see the military giving information to the Air Force giving to the Navy, and we've seen precise launches and targeting of this terrorist group. And I can assure you, based on information that we have recently, that we are really doing damage to them.
Now, how do we contain the issue of non-state actors who, like some of the international, multinational NGOs? Daniel Funad made a statement earlier on when he talked about funding coming from outside sources.
You know, I think the initial mistakes that we have done and we are always doing is these things are put in international agreements. You know, most of these NGOs have agreements with the government of this country that we have to operate at this levels.
Yes.
And by the time they begin to operate outside of this agreement, I think what we need to do, the government need to place its foot on ground and tell them, because there are instances where these NGOs give palliatives
even to the insurgents.
Without the knowledge of government. And I think that is out, not within the agreements, within the norms. So by the time you as a government knows this, you should put your feet on the ground and tell such bodies that this can be done.
Okay. Recently, the President, Muhammad Buhari, approved the sum of 13 billion for community policing project.
Yeah.
What is your view on this?
I've been trying to do a research on this,
yes.
and the current IG, I think he has a sweet idea about this. I do understand that it was at NIPS that they came up with the proposals, and it was well researched and debated within the think tank at NIPS. But I think that community policing is as a result of the agitations of people of this country who feel that they are not getting enough security to their lives and property. But then we need to do, if we need to introduce community policing, we need to do it perfectly well. Take, for example, what are the constitutional provisions for this for its establishment? Are we following due process? Let us not forget that if you leave such policing to the state government in times where there are elections and any sort of you could use up governments, yes, could use up the powers of these people to against its opponents.
Exactly.
You know, so for me, we need to look at it very carefully. And that money also, the 13.2 billion, is this sufficient?
That's another thing. And then you have insurrections coming from other parts of the country, especially in the southeastern parts. Yeah. On Sunday, we had there was an incident where scores of people were reportedly killed. We continue to have this problem of insurrection every time, you know.
Let me tell you,
agitations. How do we, you know, get to the root of this issue?
It is the federal government's policy not to discuss with proscribed groups like the IPOB. It's also my opinion that too much of allowances shouldn't be given to them, because some of these people take for granted government's patience and policies. IPOB and the other several agitations that are coming across Nigeria, for me, some of it are based on agitations by people who feel that government
lost out of power.
Yes, government is not doing enough, or they have lost out of power. But then most of it is the intrusion by politicians. Lawrence, you know that people are beginning to think about 2023.
Yes.
And the permutations are well being developed. People, it's unfortunate that in Africa, and in Nigeria in particular, every run, every bend to the election year is made to look to be very violent.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. Killings and all sorts of crimes happen. And if you research very well, you begin to notice that these are acts of politicians.
So how do we get to the root of these issues? Is it to strengthen the judiciary, make them more independent?
I think the police and the security agents have to wake up to their mandates and to their what they are supposed to be doing, their work. The judiciary has to be strengthened, and frankly, right now, we are at that curve going to election year, and it's going to, for me, get terrible.
Your final words, sir. How do we come to the end of find a lasting solution to the myriads of problems of insecurity in the country? How do we find a solution?
The general belief about insecurity is, one of it is poverty, and I think it's main poverty. If government can sit down and articulate the issues of development, education, and begin to think very well about how to bring these young men and women that are in millions in this country out of poverty, the poverty level, we need to work on it.
I must thank you so very much, sir,
Thank you
for coming on the program today.
Thank you.
We have been talking with Patriot Sabo Ode of the Coalition for Nigerian Movement, who has spoken extensively on the issue in Mali and also how to end the myriad of security challenges we have in the country. You can also join the conversation by following all our social media handles. You can join us on Facebook, Television Nigeria, Facebook/Television Nigeria, on our YouTube channel, Twitter, and all other handles. This is where we draw the curtains on the program today. My name is Lawrence Audu. Until we come your way again with another exciting edition of Security Dossier, stay safe. Bye for now.